Shalom, shalom, peace, everyone.
Blessed love, Shabbat Shalom. Blessed
Shabbat
love,
shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Love and harmony, family. Yes.
1,000 buttons on our tardiness, but we're here, back again. Give thanks to everyone in the space, piling up. Peace of Kashia, peace of Khadija, peace in my precious, peace and blessings, Chief Yuya. Respect to everyone in the space. Peace, Achilo. Peace, peace.
Blessed love, Baba Chief, you San Anu. Love and harmony, man. Give thanks to you for creating this space. Yeah, man. Giving us continued enlightenment and transformation from, I think, for sure, 2012, 2011. You've been putting those segments out first, man. So,
yeah, online.
Online, so for us to be a part of the movement and energy with you, man, we give thanks for you allowing us to assist and spread the word of Anu, So give thanks, man. Give thanks and praises to the great Yah for another strong day in uprising, being able to bring the 6th day to rest, and yeah, man, love and harmony.
Yeah, man. So moving into Shabbat, we're wrapping up our 6 days of work, external work, and moving into our internal work. Peace, Imakuya. Peace, Naya. All right, everybody's piling in. So without further ado, we're going to be continuing the section on family, and we're going to be beginning the stages of courtship. So with the courtship process, there are going to be 3 stages, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. First, we got to acknowledge the 20-second delay, and we also have to read the preface. In Shema, we begin with the reading of the preface, and my partner in crime, Albo Cruz, is about to, bless us with that.
Yeah, man. Love and harmony, family. All right, so this is a condensed version of the Anue preface from Anue Foundations. Okay, make sure I get y'all. Sorry, getting framed properly. There we go. New setup, y'all. So, 1,000 pardons.
Yeah, bare-born studio. Got
yeah,
the wires hanging and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. This book is not to be read only once. Read the words of this book of knowledge and wisdom out loud. Discuss the convictions of this work with the Anu brothers and sisters. Share this information with your people. This publication should be read daily. Every line in this book can be taken out of context and studied on the strength of its own potential. The truth is to be deliberated, and that's what we are here doing. Deliberation. Yeah, man. And we're going to get into one of the other things that we are doing is reasoning. The Messiah, Yahweh Shai, when he came forth into the incarnated state, one thing he said is, "Come, let us reason together." That's what he told the discipline, so the disciples as we know them. So in this case now, we're doing our reasoning, and when we get into intelligences, certainly is something that we're going to touch on this evening, which is the reasoning. How do we surmise and come to certain reasonings when it comes to our movements, our journey, and most importantly, our mission as a family, right? So that being said, we're going to get into our Shema reading. Firstly, we have a couple of questions, right?
Sure, but let's wait until after we read,
Okay.
Do the full read through. So there are 3 stages of courtship. The first stage is discovering a common interest, which is what we're going to be getting into today. The second stage is role identification, and the third stage is full disclosure. So stage 1, during this stage 1 of your courtship, you're learning about the personal background and the vision that they have been given from the Most High for their lives. This is the time that the man must listen with all of his intelligences to the woman. During this time, he's getting an outlay of the earth in front of him and probing to see what the soil can produce. The woman will detect the viability of a good mate in different ways and in a shorter amount of time if she is properly trained by her elders. Yeah, so it's a lot to dig into there, culturally. And
yes.
Yeah, what's the first thing that stands out to you?
Well, the interesting thing is when you start to look at, firstly, we covered scheduling. We looked at, you have a 9-month period starting with 15 minutes of communication daily and scaling down. It's in your best interest to scale down to 5 minutes a day. Now you're on a structure of how it is that you actually dialogue and the things that you cover. So if you look at, your 3 seasons, season one is, discovering your common interests, right? And season two would be your role identification, and season three would be full disclosure. It doesn't necessarily have to cut that way. It could be a season and a half for common interests, depending on you as the individual, on the other person, of course. But when you start to get into that mindset, there's really, really no time to do things the way that we often did, as far as we're happy go lucky. I remember Chief Segway said, "I love you, I love you." you know, now we be there's a different measurement that we use for love, and of course, any of you who would have listened up to the Shema readings up to the days, I always mention courting the self. So this definitely is where your self shape comes to the forefront, because the first thing you, especially as a man, you have to listen with all your intelligences. This is what I was starting to refer to earlier about the reasoning. How do you reason and come to a certain mindset, a certain point of view? And I know you're going to touch on with reference to what it is that can be cultivated in a family. Now, you also have to question you as the person who's the farmer, the cultivator. And I'm pulling some energy for one of our new brothers, Brother Vermont, one of our Sabbath ciphers. He actually his background is farming. So he started to speak about covering and it being a process of actual cultivation. What culture is it that you're looking to actually create or establish for the homestead? What is your new religion, as Chief had put it before? Or what is the religion that you're creating with your family? So just looking at it from that mindset, you certainly take a step back and you realize
Okay. Are we back?
inside Joe Kanu. the neighbor's Wi-Fi.
All right.
It's dark.
It's dark. All right, don't worry about it. Yeah, gotta check in on the reception.
Yeah.
You should have had some Jeopardy music playing for you.
Yeah. All right, that's a new software we can design, you know, for all the podcasters out there.
Yeah, but hit us with a smoke. Okay, good.
All the live
Give
stream.
thanks to God. Sheila. She
All right.
always got your back with the sound.
Oh yeah. Sound engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Sorry, apologies, family.
You were saying?
Yeah. Yeah, man. But let me refer. We don't say but, right? The thought process that I was actually taking us down the road of just now was when you look at the levels of intentions of, remember now, this topic that we're on is still based on family. So the intention that you're going into family with, the mindset that you're going into starting a family with, the mindset that you're going into bringing somebody into your homestead with is much more detailed and powerful than anything that we would have been doing up to this point. And in most cases, it really probably doesn't matter what system of thought, what spiritual practice you would have had. I have never come across a system that we are presenting to you now based on Anu thought and calculation, other than something that was referred to in probably the Helios, Biblios, or some other ancient spiritual text that people of a civilization maybe 2,000 to 4,000 years ago lived. So if we look at that in today's time, the mindsets of the individuals walking into that process, the self-courting, understanding your self-shape when you go down that journey is something far more profound than I think we could even describe in that moment. You will see it in the birth of the children that come out of products of that will center, that level of intention. So when we start looking at, for instance, the man listening with all of his intelligences to the woman, this is the reasoning now. How do we now calculate within ourselves the process of, is she capable? Is she adequate enough to be a helpmate to me? Am I adequate enough as a man to actually cover her, to guide her, to take her walking within her purpose to the next level? Do I have what it takes to make sure my homestead is fortified properly? Do I have what it takes to make sure that my steps are guided and I'm enraptured with my purpose and I'm a slave to it? When you start getting into those levels of questions, because remember now, as we studied a couple of weeks back, a couple of strongs back, the question is placed to you, or you are placing the question, or your elder on your behalf rather, are you prepared to court? Are you interested in courtship? Or the question comes to you, are you interested in courtship? The minute you say yes, so the minute you're extending or someone's petitioning your behalf, there's some hard questions that you would have asked yourself. We do have some questions that we're going to refer to now when it comes to actually finding the common interest, which is from the Solutions for Dysfunctional Family. And for that, Aki Antonio, kick it over to you so you can give your feedback.
For sure. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was with the timeline, with the seasons that you mentioned, would that be something that you lean more towards? The first 3 months may have been the discovery process. The next 3 months would be, you're dealing with your outings. And then the final 3 months, you're dealing with the closing. Is that something that you would lean more towards?
I would safely, let me rephrase that, not safely. At this stage of thought, I would say yes. Reason being is because it's an excellent place when we look at your 3x3. You look at 3 seasons as a recommendation, then you look at 3 stages. So it's much more practical to look at time allotments as, okay, my first season is for my first stage. My second season is for my second stage. In a lot of cases, if you're not ready within half of your first stage, or possibly even much less, you would determine if you're not interested in courtship, if you're not ready for courtship, if they're not ready for courtship, or even if you are and they are, it just may not be a perfect blend for yourself. Or if it's very divine, the checkoffs, yes, we're moving forward now. After our first season, we move to stage 2. You might find that winter season is just a bad time for you. So you may want to start your stage whether in springtime, All winter season, you're good. You know, you might be a enterprise and you turn your fiscal year over in the summer, you know, or just as the close of the summer. So you're like, you know, you're loving it because now there's much more focus that you can put into actually pulling somebody into your orbit. You know, so there are many reasons why I personally would say that I would select the three on three alignment or configuration. Um, that doesn't necessarily mean that when I see an anu sister that I may not look at my measurement scale just a little different. I may square it a little different. You know,
Right.
some walls are not meant to be straight; they're meant to be a little more rounded.
Yeah, because I was going to ask about you know, the organic, you know, the organic blossoming of the relationship. You know, you go through your discovery process. You may find that you have a lot in common. You know, so that might actually go smoothly. But with you and another sister, you may find that it's like pulling teeth to get through the discovery. But once you've gotten past that phase, you know, you gel pretty well. So the second phase may go a little bit quicker, you know. So adjusting that scale, you know, depending on what's righteous in the moment and for the two individuals involved. You know, that was something that I wanted to ask about. So,
Especially the barbers, right? You know, August when the breeze start, Chief. I know, you know.
So for those who may not be able to see the chat, GUS says a well-selected sundress could precipitate an untimely marriage.
Yes. And tag family, gotta check out Chief Uya's page. Awesome creation of music.
Right.
Just released.
Fate.
Yeah. That scene right there with that sundress, you know. Yep. That scene. I'm picturing that scene with me and just be like, yeah, what's up? You know, we ask you about these common interest questions, and you know, the cedar trees just start to move. Hey.
You about to pull up the Honda on the beach. Ride off into the sunset on your noble steed.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
What about you though? I mean, how do you feel about the allotment of time when it comes to really discovering the person, common interest rather, I should say, your role identification and your full disclosure? How do you see, I mean, you know, how do you see the 9 months playing out, you know?
Yeah, and it's funny, the sisters actually raised this question a few Shemas ago, and basically what I'd said was up to 7 months, I would shoot for that amount of time.
Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Oh, pardon me.
Yeah, me back to the side, get like 6 feet back.
It's not COVID.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Man, I gotta say, y'all, this new studio is not working out.
The dust, the tires hanging. Who broke this deal? Amazing. Yeah, with the 7 months for me, it just seems to me to be the most practical. 7 to 9 months, I would say. Allowing for that season change, of course, but also allowing time for proper discovery, because I don't want to rush past certain details, because you know, I'm trying to fit everything into a time allotment, but at the same time, I don't want to hang up on anything just because I want to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Sometimes, you know, to stick with the comb analogy, it takes multiple passes. So you may go through something in the discovery phase, and then, you know, in the outing phase, you find out something new. So, you know, trying to force it definitely wouldn't work, because you're going to miss certain things. But at the same time, not having structure to it could also be catastrophic, you know, because you're gonna miss some things. So it's definitely a balance, and it's going to vary from relationship to relationship, you know.
True. You know, something I think about now in this process is the necessity of individuals, but especially the man, navigating through the 14 keys, understanding the placement of harmony, order, reciprocity. You know, the role that you actually have to this family, and your level of function and focus will really determine how fruitful your courtship would be, your betrothal and your marriage, and how sustainable and functional your family in turn would be. You know, that everything will be directly reflected, because you see, you know, circulation is really about the viability. And if it's not viable, then what else is there? And how would you determine that? And then if you notice down at the end of the paragraph, it speaks to the training of eldership. You know, and we touched on that some strongs ago also. So if you as an individual have not gone through the personal training, you know, there will be a lot of loss, because your structuring and your focus, and Chief touched on this, I think, matter of fact, of a couple of strongs and from different angles with reference to, you know, it's the man has to be on point, you know. Do you have the required skills? You know, these are things that should have been focused on. Can you actually manage keeping a schedule? You know, if you say we're connecting at 7 o'clock, the sister started to touch on, you know, the check-in time. Okay, this is our check-in time. How is it actually? How is the process rolling out? You know, am I late? You know, can I keep up? Do I have to keep on shifting it? Is it crickets in the background when we're speaking, or are we flowing? You know, am I just putting a lot of filler in that 15 minutes? And can you see a script playing out, or do you see an organic flow of a Jagna in the making, Hanuman in the making, actually, or Hanuman rather, rolling out the process to actually take a prestige family of regality to the next level? If you as a sister can't see that, you know, your attention span will definitely be shifted. And you, this brother just, he making it. Yeah, elders, of course, when you have that dialogue with them, some of them will tell you, girl, you know, sister, I think you need to leave it alone. You know, and as the brother, you know, you may have gone there thinking that you have fertile soil. You start raking it up with a bunch of rocks, you know. But again, if you are an enlightening brother, the process of you actually preparing that soil for cultivation, you can actually make it fertile, you know. But now, do you want to practice narcomancy? Now, with all our new sisters, you know, you all are more than on point. So, you know, it's just really getting that perfect balance, you know. Yeah, man. So
Yeah.
that's it. That question, man.
It's actually, I was just going to comment on that because Ima Kuya had actually posed the question for us.
Hey, that's what you call synergy.
Yeah. So I am going to post it in the chat, Ima Kuya. And the question is, what three red flags? What are three red flags? You know, top three. You can pick any three that would disqualify someone as a viable mate to you. You know, on a personal level. What do you see when you look at your mate and you're like, nope, time to get out of here? You know, are they hyper controlling? Are they jealous? Are they are they a little off? When you ask them a question, their answer has nothing to do with anything going on the planet. You know, what are three red flags that disqualify someone as a viable mate? I know personally, one of them is just being impolite or being unkind to someone. You know, like if we do go on the outing, um, and I can see that you're giving someone a lot of attitude just because you know that it's their job, it's a part of their job to not be able to talk back to you. You know what I mean? You know they're in a position where if they say something in response to what it is that you're saying, and you're clearly coming onto them wrong, they're going to lose their job. And they might lose their livelihood. They may not be able to feed their children, and you're taking advantage of that. That's a strike. You know, I can't sit here and say, you know, you're going to represent both of us this way. You know what I mean? Because right off the bat, whatever comes out of your mouth is my responsibility. You know, So that would be one of the red flags for me. You want to take a stab at it?
Yeah, definitely. I hate innuendos. Like kind of dropping these hints. Well, maybe this, and roundabout conversations as opposed to being direct. With respect, of course. Definitely what you mentioned. I really don't like people who don't have manners. Coming from the islands, there's a certain unspoken of contract with people who are aged, with people who are younger, much younger. There are just certain things that you should not do in the presence of other people. Just those common courtesies that one would do well to extend to people who are passerbys. Not using profanity in front of young children who are not yours in public. Elderly people, perhaps. Um, you know, but you mentioned just now as far as the pardons on the noise. There, that's the police. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
He got COVID.
Yeah. Just one of the other things is how people interact with the people in their immediate space. Just a common respect that you have people there. I mean, for me, it's more than three. I'm not saying that I'm a overly complicated person, but there are a lot of character traits I look at. If you're a person who shows your disgust about things and your facial expressions all the time, that is always a turn off for me.
Mm,
You know.
yeah, that emotionally manipulative sort of expression. And another one for me would just be disrupting someone's peace. Not allowing someone else peace of mind. The fact that if you walk into a room and the whole energy changes because everyone's on edge, getting ready for you to say something on the way, like that's an automatic turn off. I don't want to be in the same room with you, let alone in a courtship. So that's an automatic turn off. Another one would just be laziness, like not willing to put in the work. If you say that you're willing to work with me, and oh yeah, we got a lot of answers coming through. Yeah, but yeah, if you say you're willing to work with me, or we're working together to help each other reach our highest state on the planet, and you're sort of, I'm dragging you behind me while I'm diligent in doing my work. I also got to get on you and be like, aren't you supposed to do this? Aren't you supposed to do that? And that comes from self-courting as well, because it's something that I don't really tolerate with myself, and I have to fight with myself, you know, because there's a lot of leftover baggage that we bring from our secular experience, secular upbringing, that we have to really do away with, and without that self-courting, you're gonna have some issues coming up with each other that you may not be able to address. Another thing is just not being able to be humble enough to say, okay, this person is speaking the truth to me, so I'm gonna look at it, really look at it, and be like, okay, I understand where this person is coming from, and I'm not gonna fight this at every turn or try to become evasive to the point where, back to my previous point, I make it such a harsh experience, harrowing experience, that the person just throws their hands up in the air, like, you know what, whatever, I can't talk to you right now. And then you come back the next day, like nothing ever happened.
True.
True. Like, I dare you to bring that up again.
Yeah. One thing in Anu that we do not promote is gossip, and for I guess for us as men, it may be much more difficult for the sisters perhaps, but for us as men, one thing that I know Aki Antonio and I have spoken about before is observing women who gossip, and it would not be in a Anu way if it's not something that one can easily fall into a trap of, or into I guess people could even manipulate you into it. So, there are common times when, especially people in work professional environments and what have you, tend to speak about the things that are happening in their backgrounds, what's affecting them. And a lot of times, speaking about that, you would find that there sometimes tend to be two common threads of people who are possibly a little less stable within themselves, which would be one, they gossip about the things that are happening around them, and they speak about how a lot of people tend to maybe be out to get them or maybe don't like them and so on and so on, or even sometimes condescending on people thinking that, what they do is far more this or that than the other person. And when you have those pedestal conversations and they have to proclaim a lot, there's always a little something there that certainly is noteworthy of a red flag categorization.
Sometimes it's a big something.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of it revealed itself in it's great. And just if you stab at it enough, you stab and you direct the conversation in certain ways, you definitely will find out what it is, especially when you ask certain hard questions. So this self-courting process again has to be something that one goes through. You have to look and analyze yourself in all of these facets to make sure that you're not bringing anything to the space that is not balanced and functional.
We got a lot of activity in the chat.
Yeah, man. Emma Precious started with her answering. Okay.
Yeah. So
Emma Quee asks what a man is listening for in a woman. Further up.
Yeah, that's what I was speaking to when I said she actually asked the question for us.
Okay. No, I meant this one.
Okay.
Listening for.
Oh, okay. I missed that one. Yeah, I missed that one. But yeah, that is a good question. And what are these intelligences that you're using to listen for?
Mm-hmm.
But the sentence that comes after it, you're standing in front of a plot of land and you're trying to see what it is this land can produce. And you can hear that from what it's already producing, so that's what you're listening for. At least personally, that's what I would be listening for. I'm not sure you want to.
Yeah, definitely. But how the woman harmonizes, is there levels of or high levels of encouragement coming from her for the Anu family? Is she supportive? Is she dependable? What is her level of presence? And some people are more soft spoken in nature. Even with her soft spoken nature, is she functional? So it's not so much listening with ears only; it's also listening with eyes. How do you get along with the Anu system? Is there always a standoffish approach when a recommendation is made for a level of connectivity? Outside of the presence of the sisters, are there levels of ridicule that are behind the scenes of them as opposed to openly? Are there borderline conflict resolutions pending with everybody around you? Those are things that I listen for, and that firstly determines how we will harmonize because you've been harmonizing with them much more than me. And it's much easier to put on a face to captivate me as the opposite, to bring you into my zone. Whereas the people who you should have been billing with, the lionesses, for the hunts that you're on, those things are more present and more consistent leading up to the courtship.
Right. You're also listening for you're listening for that compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
If I know what it is that I'm building and I know what I may want to add to that or which direction I'm trying to take it to, is the sister able to take what I'm building or um, what I'm building externally or internally? Is she able to take that and magnify it and not have it come out with two heads, air on the stomach? Are you going to produce some Franken babies, or are you clean enough, to actually produce something that is pure?
Actually,
and that's very tricky thing to do because the mind's ears may have wax in it, worms in it. He may be hearing the wrong things, and the woman may be able to portray a certain level of disguise or facade And that's what happens today when you're dealing with dating. You know, men may not know what to listen for, and women may know, you know, what to say in order to divert them from what they actually are.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that in a courtship, because it's not just you and the man. There's also Jagna that are presiding over you, and they have much cleaner ears, you know, and much cleaner internals than the two people in question. And they're going to coach and guide them towards what it is they should be listening for, and fine tuning the experience.
Yeah, that's the objectivity then stepped in, and you know, a lot of what I'm about to navigate down to before you start not going through the questions is the role identification mindset that you know you're going to cover speaks strongly in common interest, because as the man you need to know what it is that you're looking to establish. What is it that you need assistance with? What is it that you need help with? And as a woman, you know what it is that you're bringing. So this cultivation analogy for farmland, you know, like Brother Vermont said, there's certain things that possibly have to be introduced to the space. You know, maybe there's a level of education on a higher plane that you maybe need to get her intellect up to a certain level. She has everything else, but maybe that may be something that you need. You may need somebody to balance books because you have multiple enterprises. You know, it may be that you're an older man and perhaps you have younger children, maybe a widower, and you need to bring a woman in to assist with helping you to balance the homestead of the children. So those applications are what are some of the things that you're looking and listening for, because you have your required qualities, and then you also have your required qualities as a homestead. Mm-hmm. So, as a man and a woman in the kingdom of Anu, there are certain things that you should be striving for. If you know that you lack them, that you should be continually striving to pull yourself up to the levels of achieving. But in addition to that, each homestead has a level of functionality and a certain vision and mission that they actually are moving forward with, which are also under the vision of Anu. So when you look at her, there's certain things in Aki Antonia's homestead that won't happen in my homestead, and vice versa. So naturally, the things that he listens and looks for will be, you know, tweaked and adjusted, even though we have a lot of similarities and, you know, we can power on certain levels. He's an artist, you know, that there are certain things in his mind's eye that he navigates around, and you know, I like tribal bongo drums, you know. I like to get on the road and break a sweat. So there are certain things I'm looking for, you know. So that level of expression is already different when it comes to how things are coming into the space, you know, as far as how we look to enact life, you know. So Emma Precious says, one, lack of connection and obedience to the Most High. Yeah, can't follow the laws.
And the second and third would be deceptive or dishonest, and malish instead of manly.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to do? I don't know, man. What you want to do?
Even Precious, you want to give us an example of that malish instead of manly?
Not the one I just gave.
Aki Logue says lack of character, poor hygiene, and non-loyal. Yeah.
These guys ain't loyal.
Kashia says
not I know, big one.
Yeah. Dishonest and no connection to the creator. Oh, we got a bonus, passive. Okay, we got a lot of bonuses. Naya says dishonesty, rudeness, passive, and controlling.
Now you gotta get into that control a little bit, Naya. Remember now, the man control everything in the homestead. He is master. So you can break that controlling down a little bit for us. That's what you talk about with controlling. Mm-hmm. You know,
access to everything.
Of course,
we gotta see what's
because
in your mind's eye.
You say passive and you say controlling. Where do you find the balance? You know.
Yeah.
So and it's not getting at just for clarity. All right, just for clarity. I'm not saying that to say anything wrong. I just want you to go a little deeper into it.
Okay, so one from Imakuya. Expectation of others they don't have for themselves. That's a big one. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a big one. It's like the preacher mentality. Y'all got to do this and y'all got to do that. Y'all got to sacrifice and learn how to be humble. And oh, look at the time. Let me get my BMW out the shop.
Okay, she is the other one that's hit the like button. Yeah, ones who don't hit the like buttons, Kashia, right?
Akot Manira says no plans for the well-being of himself, his family, himself, his family, ineffective communication or lack thereof, and unaccountable. And of course, dishonesty. That's like honorable mention. Put that one with a star next to it. Okay.
Yeah, it's great. It's funny, right? Because I think can pretty much say that they've come across high levels of dishonesty in their lives. You know, until I knew where the truth. I mean, y'all and I knew could give me a amen or a ashe or showing up, whatever you want to put in the chat. You know what I mean? But there's no reason or want to be dishonest. This is who I am. This is this is the dysfunction that I've had. Okay, I'm looking to get it right. I don't want to be can't get right no more. You know what I mean? And coming into that mindset around a healthy group of individuals and individuals who are striving to be even more healthy than they are, and just like me, looking to reach for the chain that's being lowered down for us. We're moving. We're moving uphill. So anything that the world has is something that we don't want. And the world has lies and deceit because the world is not comfortable with itself. We found comfort and solace with the fact that, look, I messed up, I was crappy, and I'm moving forward now. I used to eat chicken and pickle eggs, now I eat hummus. And what our new sister was eating, she's eating seaweed, I was eating brown sugar and peanut. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, just look at there are many things that you should not have to encounter with your potential mate when it comes to coming into a functional courtship under the guidance of our new elders. And dishonesty is one of them. And that immediately you disqualify yourself from anything with Anu once you've found to be a person dishonest.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Des says lacking intelligence or desire to learn, of gossip. Yeah, that's a no-no. And passive. Queer continues no connection with the Most High. I like these. I like the suspense. Queer. Dad says a gossiping man is the worst. Boy. Yeah,
Well,
that
y'all
is
didn't hear about that,
come from me, boy.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I ain't gonna tell nobody else,
Yeah,
But I thought it was pretty interesting with the comment that Sister Monero made with reference to no plan. This again speaks to the need for the self training, the mentorship, and the modeling that everyone should go through, but especially the man, because you should have a plan and your mission. You should be active in your mission and vision, and not trying to figure things out when you actually come to the point of actually looking to take a woman into your homestead. Because the next step, and stage 3, you're getting into living arrangements. So you gotta have a plan because you got 9 months to roll this whole thing out. You know what I mean? And when we get into some of the questions that you would need to be having a dialogue, what is your plan directly? What's your 5-year plan, brother? You know what I mean? Not just where you see yourself. What is your 5-year plan? You have children, okay? When your kids are 18, which would be such and such time, what do you have planned? How do I fit into that plan? What do you need help with? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have how about those Mets?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's automatic disqualification. But in truth, the elders in most cases would have also covered a lot of that for you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got to be tight. I remember she said, "You brothers got to be tight.
Yeah,
Got to be on point."
and it's sad because, like we were speaking about the bloodlines earlier, some people they ain't really born with it. They have generations and generations of I take one of Chief's vocabulary words, wayfish, man. So you have a lot of males and males and males, and then by the time you come along, all you get is male logic. And sometimes you're blessed to get around a man or rub shoulders with men and realize that what you were taught wasn't really it. And depending on what level you're on or what stage you're at in life, you may not have as much time to, sit and pontificate and try to figure it out. You may realize, okay, I got to figure this out like yesterday. I was supposed to be in my manner yesterday. I was supposed to know how to spot a real mate from a liability yesterday. That goes for men and women. And you've got to really take some time to check stock and see what it is that's been implanted in you that's going to prevent you from moving forward in a healthy way. So a lot of these things that we're speaking about, that are recurring, passive, gossip, unaccountable, disloyal. These are some of the things that we encounter on the daily, not just with potential mates, but with just people we rub shoulders with. And these are not the people we want to be around. So that's one of the beautiful things of Anu. You're creating, that healthy space, and you're building up the best in the people around you.
One of the other things that strongly moves in my heavens in this regard now is you must know how to maintain it. Like Chief has taught us many occasions, don't build anything unless you can protect it. So again, like the farm, when you put this farm up, it's valuable crop. What is your plan? And I'm not just talking about theft. I'm talking about, have you made the provisions to make sure your crops don't get burnt from the sun? Are you able to measure the energy that even comes into contact with your crops? Do you know what it takes to actually keep it watered, to actually weed up around it, to keep the soil fertile? Do you know how to gauge harvest? Do you know how to measure the character of people and what it is that they can take? Because there are levels to it, when it comes to how much of yourself and your power can you really roll out onto somebody all at once, if you know that you're possibly a little more advanced. So as a man who's maybe in his mid-40s and he looks to court, betroth, and marry a woman who's maybe in her mid-20s, there's certain things that she has not seen as yet, and some of his seriousness he has to prepare her or mold her into, even though her elders would have done some of it already. But again, this is some of the things that he's looking for now. How much can she humble herself? Is she coachable to that regard? And the minute you see some of those issues, when you say certain things, is it always a level of resistance? Well, I won't really agree with that. Or, there's a lot of these discussions of openness and divine femininity tend to come out in some of those dialogues. So again, is she coachable? And are you a worthy coach? You spoke about the timelines of life. I remember Chief had made reference to, everyone who's listened to Chief more than maybe 5 of his segments knows that he has an affinity for martial sciences. And, he's speaking to somebody, and I want to say it's one of his students. I don't want to quote the wrong person or speak to the wrong person. But he said, the person was speaking to him about maybe being a coach. He said, look, man, nah, I ain't been in somebody's corner coaching them for a minute. I'll be a good cut man, but not a good coach, So you also have to determine what it is that you are prepared to do as a cultivator. Can you harvest out of 5 acres, or are you only capable of doing a backyard farm? And if you need to take it to 5 acres based on what you know your vision should be, then are you coachable? And have you found the right mentor to actually start building with? Have you actually gone through that process of reformation? Do you have all of those vital qualities? And hence, because that's dishonesty. If you're sitting down and telling the sister, yeah, well, I got this all good, and she's looking, I'm like, man, this ain't really balancing off. This brother don't be reading or studying. I'm asking about current events. You don't know what's happening. You know what I mean? Not just, one of the things you sisters mentioned a lot of about passiveness, but another thing that's very dangerous in a man, in addition to passiveness, and they tend to walk like twin brothers, is being very dismissive. You know, there are a lot of males who you come across who are very dismissive about things. Especially here on the islands. Everyone kind of is on a slower pace, as opposed to in some of the cities that most of you are possibly in, where things are much faster pace moving. There's a level of high levels of accountability in the corporate world and so on. A lot of that is missing in certain sectors here. They're just catching up to it. So you will find that people dismiss a lot of that, and that's where that malish and man concept that you mentioned, with people who are only around males for so many generations now coming in contact with men, they tend to resent the man when he walks into the space. Like, this boy always running on with this or running on with that because he wants you to be accountable. No, man, I'm team lead. What you mean? Let's go. Let's move. Let's this.
And you're like, man, it ain't got to be all of that. Nah,
Yeah,
it does have to be all
what
of
you
that.
talking about? We got deadlines, bro.
And one of the issues with that is because, again, most of our, at least I could speak for over here, most of our young people are raised by teachers.
Hmm.
A lot of them don't really have a one-on-one relationship with their parents like that. The parents are either at work, or when they get home from work, they just eat dinner, watch TV, and go to bed. So most of your relationships with adults are with teachers. Some of these teachers aren't really even qualified to call themselves adults, and the majority of them are female. Like 90% of the teachers, they are female. So you're not really gonna see men like that, and you have a lot of issues with these teachers trying to solve problems for these young women and young men. So you grow up thinking that every problem is going to solve itself. Of course, you're going to be passive. You just sit back, and eventually they're going to stop making noise and they're going to do it anyway. So why should I get up? Why should I react to them, much less be proactive? So those are some of the things that lead to it as well, in terms of sick society or dysfunctional society that hasn't really learned to balance the masculine feminine aspect, or bring up the woman or man, as the section refers to, the woman actually being able to verify a good mate, or a man being able to look at a woman and say, okay, she can actually bring forth what it is that I need to produce. And just going back to the answers in the chat.
Yeah, and what you mentioned just now actually touches a lot on the comment that Sequoia made. You said lack of integrity, lack of drive, and irresponsible.
Yeah,
definitely speaks a lot to that.
Number four is culture class. Everybody got these bonuses. Emo queer. Okay, I was waiting. I was looking to see when it was gonna come up. Okay, let me scroll back up. Emo queer says, in terms of harmonizing, is there a certain note you're looking for? Okay, I think that's
man. I told you, man. Like tribal beats and getting on the
that
road.
was way down there when we were speaking. I think that's when we were responding to her question. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Emo, but I think that's
but I when the comment was made about how do we harmonize,
right?
So certainly I love different genres of music. So when it comes to a certain note that we're looking to harmonize with, I won't misrepresent myself and call like an A tenor this or that, but certainly when I speak to the concept of how I like to move in the arts of expression, again speaking with the analogy of harmonizing now, boots on the ground is one thing, but somebody to troubleshoot, someone who, when I hit the thought to, can take it in the vessel, prepare it, put some avocado on it, and represent it the same way I gave it to her, but with that beautiful feminine nurturing twist, that level of harmonizing. It's like watching somebody dance to a live band compared to if a DJ plays. there's a level of flow that's different. That level of harmony, the harmony that goes deep, that you only find in people who are very in tune with themselves, as opposed to being impressionable, or a statement that's on the islands as bandwagoners. Yeah, man. So that level of harmonizing, someone who's a strong complement for what it is that I naturally bring. So those rudiments that Chief mentioned, if I could hit a one, this person could hit a one too. The person grooves a certain way when the melody plays. Again, just using the analogy of music.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
All right, so I'm ready to type in up.
Controlling in a more abusive way. That was the answer that Naya gave with reference to controlling.
Okay, and of course, Kashia says, "What would you define as abusive?" So right back at you.
Show enough, Kashia.
So no. We got to catch up with these comments.
Yeah.
Kashia says, "Trusting in your community. You come and being honest about who you are in that space. No dark corners.
True.
Chicken and pickled eggs. Chicken on chicken out."
Yeah. Hey, listen, I gotta say, I've never eaten a pickled egg. Right? I used to see it a lot in Liberty City. The little corner store. There's always an Arab in the black community running the little store with all the pickle sausage and thing, right?
All right, so Naya says physical abuse in an unloving way, verbal, emotional abuse, manipulation.
Yeah, those traits you tend to find with gal man though. Like fellas was operate like more gals, like we throw tantrums and just the way you're describing it. Because if a man is to abuse verbally, or as they would like to say, God forbid, physically, is somebody who really, really can't express themselves without just throwing the tantrum.
Right. And we're going to need a little bit more clarification, maybe an example. Naya, Chief had said, abusive. Naya, you then just nullified the controlling term using the popular overused shaming term. So dig deeper, madam.
Yeah. Akuya actually raised a very strong point there, and this is that self-courting now that I'm referring to. I'm feeling like some of these things that are deal breakers should already be had before entering courtship. Otherwise, one wouldn't be ready for courtship in the first place. Yeah, exactly. That's where we refer to the elders. Your elders sit me. Hold on, we talking about you want to enter courtship, bro? You can't. You ain't sit down and write a business plan yet. I ask you what your plan is for this thing 2 years down the road. You still ain't really give me no clarity on that. So how it is you're gonna bring a woman into this homestead?
Yeah. So she's speaking about the lack of having these masculine traits. And peace, Ricochet. Kashia says absolutely. Yeah, that's why I said not Anu. There are certain requirements for all of us before entering courtship. Many are not possessing these deal breakers.
True.
Yeah. So Imakuya says, what if one has met a person outside of Anu but is interested in Anu? You gotta know what it means to be Anu.
Yeah.
And like Chief was saying, I think he was responding to when he was responding to my question last Shabbat. An easy way to cut through a lot of that is just we don't do that. That's not the way we do things. So you around there marching back and forth, throwing a tantrum, throwing plates around the place because I told you to close the fridge. Like, we don't do that.
True. And that actually was a good question for those who would have not probably or possibly not come into contact with that area in the Anu yet. Is not in Anu, but Anu man is interested in it. Is his responsibility to actually teach her the ways of Anu and actually bring her into the community so that the community can validate her. Because in Anu, we only encourage marriages of adults, and for one to be qualified as an adult, they would have gone through the process of being qualified as an adult in the community of Anu by the standards of Anu. If a woman meets a man outside of Anu, well, them things that don't really happen because the woman is covered, right? So she's not coming into the space of meeting men, who are not Anu, So it's a good question.
Yeah, and of course, Naya said I should have said abusive instead of controlling. And again, Courtship says, Naya, again, can you expound on what abusive is? And Chief, to Imakuya's comment, is then you pass them to your Anu brother or sister and you get completely out of the picture. How are you just meeting people without your community and your culture as your shield? And Naya says, I can only reflect on my experience and noticing certain tempers and reactions of males. Those behaviors made me think they may strike a female. Chief Yuya says, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, Naya. I'll leave it alone. Naya says, I don't mind, Chief Yuya. You and Kashia are helping me. Give thanks. Chief says, you will mind. This is a slippery slope. Build on it with your sisters in private. Okay. You get the affirmative from Naya. And Imakuya says, you spoke on it when I asked. I'm not sure what you're referring to. We just catching up these comments.
Yeah. Sorry.
She says, my grandma makes pickled eggs. She pickles everything. Okay. Okay. Finally at the bottom. All right. So Imusakoya says, in the Anu way, it states courtship is not subject to the approval of anyone, elder or the like. There is no one in Anu who has the authority to prevent individuals from mating, other than the guardians and parents of those individuals, if they are still functioning under the covering of that guardian or parent. Yeah, so okay, I'm not sure exactly what Ima Sequoia was referring to. Yeah, I got backlog in my brain from reading all those comments.
So, walking guides, 14 keys, Anu foundations, solutions for dysfunctional family relationships.
Yeah, right? we got to get this camera thing.
Yeah.
Between us and the sisters, we always go the opposite way.
I gotta say though, I precious knows have a better recoil time. You know what I mean? On page 41, determining compatibility, these are some questions. We touched on the questions before, earlier in the discussion of family, but never in its totality. So I'm going to take this opportunity to read down the questions.
Of course, we're gonna be closing out soon. So these are questions that if you don't have time to get to them in the chat, you can always, leave your answers or your responses in the comment section. And there's also another question that we wanted to raise, which is the inverse of the question that we had previously raised.
Yeah.
So
you can hit the question first.
Sure. So that question would be, now, what are 3 green flags that would let you know that this person is your match? So a lot of us can agree on what we dislike, but can you speak to what it is that you know for certain is something that gels with you? In a righteous way. I love the way he rubs my thighs.
I like the way she looks in that sundress.
Yeah, that sundress, boy.
Yeah.
Tell you.
How does she operate in the ministries? How does she participate? As the man. How do his brothers view him? Is he somebody dependable?
Mm-hmm. Are they patient?
Do you see him taking the lead? Is he bringing new ideas, innovations?
Is she able to feed you healthy food that can actually heal you and not kill you?
Yeah. When you go to Anu retreat, do they only put on on cutting the lettuce? Is the food pretty when she presents it? You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's a number of things that I'm sure everybody has as likes, but certainly one would do very well to look at the required qualities as a guiding spectrum or a guiding formula rather, to look at how a person is emitting these energies. Have you witnessed growth? Everybody should be growing. Change is inevitable. Growth is the option, right? So if you and somebody have been in Anu for a year and a half, 2 to 3 years, and you've been witnessing, observing, interacting with each other, can you safely say you've witnessed growth? Has it been acknowledged by the brothers? If you as a woman is looking at this Anu man, you as the man looking at this woman, how do the sisters view them? Is there always a continual level of pushback on certain statements that they make? You know, have you seen growth in the qualification of certain questions that they ask? You know, just as many different areas that one will look at. And when you have seen those things, green lights, yeah, smooth sailing. It's like driving off of the freeway and moving from east to west off the interstate, you know, around probably 2 in the morning after a flight, pure green, you know, pure green. All the lights are green ahead. You know, you're just moving, you know, not a police in sight. You know, nothing stopping you. But yeah, man, but just get into the questions out of the solutions. Um, there are fundamental questions I'd advise one to ask. The following represents a sample of those questions. This is from Chief. Say, what is your life purpose? Are you spiritual or religious? At what age did you become a man or woman? How did you know? Was it verified by anyone else? This is what we touched on very briefly when it talks about someone being qualified as an adult in the community.
Yeah, not to throw you off, but just Padmini 144 had actually made a statement to that effect, and she said, "I appreciate the level of accountability Anu men are held to. It assures a great level of safety for the partner in a relationship." And that actually speaks to something that is like a green light for me in terms of a healthy sense of humor, meaning that you're able to actually see the levity in a situation, not to the degree that you make light of everything, but to the degree that you can actually see what's going on with the situation, but you're so in tune with the plan that you don't really panic. And it can be very easy for a woman to develop an unhealthy sense of humor if she feels unsafe. You know, it could devolve into sarcasm, or it could devolve into trying to undermine the man if, you know, he's not displaying the traits that would make her feel safe. And that varies from woman to woman, but of course having those basics down, you know, food, clothing, shelter, you know, being dependable, being direct, being about your purpose, these are the things that make a woman feel safe. I think Chief had mentioned in one of his lives that he came home one day and sisters would break dance in the living room. They were having a break dance contest, and that sort of thing wouldn't happen if they felt unsafe. And that's, you know, they're just going crazy. Like, you know what? F it. We don't have nothing to do. He's directionless, so we can do whatever.
Yeah.
But it can happen with a level of safety as well as a level of insecurity.
Harmonize.
Yeah.
Harmonizing, man. Like, we got a couple of comments.
Yeah. Ima Sequoia says culture. The culture aligns. You know, your cultures align. Is certified as a man or woman within our new community, and they respect one another. You know, these are 3 green flags. Ima Queer says, first I'm going to seek the face of the Creator. The Most High will reveal it. I'm feeling I want too much. Ima Queer, that's too vague. There's no green flags. You know, there's nothing that you can see that you say you definitely want. You spoke the things that you definitely don't want. So wouldn't the inverse of them be relatively close to the truth? You know, you don't want someone who's passive. You want someone who's direct and take charge.
Yeah, it'd be like Malcolm X's wife. So, yes, brother Malcolm. You know, you get up there, Mosque and he started, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that did something to her, the drive, the passion, the way he rallied people up, you know. Does that do it for you, Emma Queer?
Yeah,
You know?
McQueen says you're right. It was bad. Okay. Akar Kashir says, Anu man requirements. I am able to see within my role. A man who is direct, authoritative, has a vision for all he presides over, submission to the Creator, charitable, good character. Um, she also says, absolutely, just the Padmani 144. I appreciate that as well, knowing there is security and trust is there. Yeah, that's definitely something that's important. It's important for men too to know that I can come home and, you know, I can actually recharge. I don't have to come home to another set of problems.
True, true. Yeah, man. So I'm just gonna read down these questions. 1 second.
Yeah, that's really for the show on my face.
Yeah, man.
We got
New studio.
We got a lot of commercials at the new studio. Chief Yuya says maybe she doesn't want the inverse of what she says she avoids. This is a common sentiment amongst women. Yeah, I've definitely seen that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I've seen someone say, at least one of my friends that come to me, and he had complained about this stuff, and he was saying, well, the first thing she said was she wanted someone to be committed, and then he commits, cuts off all his other women. It's like, all right, I'm gonna be serious. This is what I'm trying to do now. This is what we're gonna do. She's like, I don't know if I'm ready. It's like, what you mean? I don't know. I didn't think you'd actually do it. You trying to fight? So yeah, taking directives from the woman would have been a mistake there.
Yeah, man.
Padmini 144. Green flags would be patience, transparency, and a greater understanding of self through the eyes of the Most High. Okay. So, but I keep interrupting you with this question.
No. You're good. Good.
Yeah,
So, we try it again. Right? What is your life purpose? Are you spiritual or religious? At what age did you become a man or woman? How did you know? Was it verified by anyone else? What are your top 3 essential requirements in a relationship? Do those requirements change if the relationship is an intimate one? Do you have any sexually transmittable diseases? Are you holistically healthy? How would you define your ethnicity? Do you have children, whether you do or don't? What do you feel they need in order to manifest their best? Have you put these things in place? What are your feelings about natural births? Are you most comfortable in an urban or rural setting? Why? How do you define economics? How do you define politics? What is your political posture? Do you have friends of your own gender? How would you define your worldview and life philosophy, respectively? Do you explore any creative expressions? What is your means of recharging yourself? What do you consider to be the roles of the man and woman in the family? How do you feel about public education? What are your views on homeschooling? Would you ever consider adopting a child? What was your childhood like? Where do you see yourself in 5, 15, 25 years? How would you define marriage? How do you feel about ethnic, traditional forms of marriage?
I gotta say, that line from the preface, it definitely applies to those questions. Every one of them, each of them can be taken studied on the strength of its own validity. Each one of those questions you could be thinking about all day, because these are things that you've never really either asked yourself or been asked before, or maybe you've asked yourself but you never really put too much focus on it or too much stock in the answer. So all of those questions, I think we can put them in the description afterwards or in the comment section below. And everybody in the chat, you can feel free to leave your comments below, responses to all of the questions or the ones that you feel confident in answering, or even respond to the ones that maybe no one's ever asked you before. We could definitely continue the dialogue down below. Did you have anything else you wanted to add before we get into the chat?
Well, again, the reminder, look at it with seriousness, the self-courting process. Take the time to court yourself to make sure that you are as optimal as you need to be as a man to cultivate what it is that is ahead of you. Make sure that you are as educated as you need to be in all of the areas of function to protect and maintain what it is that you're cultivating. Make sure as a woman you're grounded and you've actually taken due time to choose proper eldership. If you're not an Anu and you're coming from another angle or direction leading into Anu calculation, make sure that you've taken time to give yourself objective and sound criticism and sobering assessment with reference to where you really are and the need to actually belong to a community that's on the movement consistently of actually eradicating dysfunction. Math for the day talks about building and destroying. So to build something, something has to be destroyed. Are you chiseling away and smoothing those rough edges of yourself consistently with the assistance of the laws of the Most High that actually emanates through the creation of the servants of the Most High?
Oh man, Jesus says y'all don't need to bless him when he sneezes. That's from old European superstition. When someone sneezes, look them right in the eye and say, "So what?"
Yeah. It's right because like how we're having this dialogue, someone's looking to say something. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the sneeze, just tuning in, getting ready. It's a cleansing period that we're about to enter into for the summer solstice. So yeah, definitely a purge. So for those in Anu, we look forward to connecting with you all on Sabbath Cipher. For those of you who are not in Anu, are you capable of being who you should be, who you were appointed to be a person from heaven, walking this earth plane? And if you are, yeah.
If you are, put your phone on silent.
If you are, start looking to get into dialogue. And if you're really interested, find a way to get that application in. Send some sound in the chat. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No man, I almost cut you off. But I just wanted to say, if you are unsure of these qualities that you should be cultivating, of course, there's the book that we reference, Solutions for Dysfunctional Family Relationships, and goes without saying, the Anu Way also has a list of vital edicts and a list of qualities, required qualities for men and for women that you can definitely go through, study, comb through them. Remember the preface, each line could be studied on its own potential. And you would be surprised what you uncover about yourself. Maybe you're farther along than you thought you were. Maybe you're farther behind than you thought you were. But until you do that sober self-assessment, you won't know where you're at, and you won't really, have a clear understanding of where you should be going or what your trajectory should be. And if that's the case, mating shouldn't even be on the table.
Yep.
So with that, anything else you wanted to add on?
Yeah, man. Y'all stay blessed.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Hopefully by now, those who are balancing themselves off for sundown, hopefully that you're indoors and your families are in, you're safe. All preparations have been done leading into the down setting, you know. So off of that, Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat shalom.
Yeah, man. Love and harmony always, man. All right.
Peace to you all. Give thanks for everybody who came through.
Yes, 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 yes.
Give thanks for the bill. Peace to you all.
Yeah, man.